So I have a question for you. If a team starts a match at odds of 4, what chance do they have of scoring the first goal? Because they're priced at 4, the other team will be heavily odds on. What chance does the team priced at odds of 4 have of scoring the first goal? Is it 25%? Is it 50%? Is it 75%? What chance do they have of scoring that first goal? So this was a video I meant to do a little while ago, and I thought it was quite interesting because it shows a couple of things. If you wonder where you are in the market or where your edge is, very often it makes sense to consult the wisdom of the crowd. So I asked a question on Twitter a little while ago, which was exactly the same. I said, if a home team in a football stroke soccer match is priced at 4, how often will they score the first goal? And I put up a few options on the poll. There was 10% of the time, 20% of the time, 30% of the time, or 40% of the time. So have another little think here. Which would you go for? 10, 20, 30 or 40% chance of scoring the first goal if they are at decimal odds of 4. Now at decimal odds of 4, a team has a 25% chance of winning. So I'm giving you a bit of a steer there. If the team is priced at 4, there's a 25% chance of winning. Do they have a 10, a 20, a 30 or a 40% chance of scoring that first goal? So if we consult the crowd, as we did on Twitter, the answers that came back were, have a think about your one. People said that the team would score first 10% of the time. 19% of people said 10% of the time. 29% of people said 20% of the time. And 36% of people said 30% of the time. And 16% said 40% of the time. So basically, the average guess came out, or the highest number of people voted for 30% of the time. So a team that has a 25% chance of winning, they reckoned would score the first goal 30% of the time. Now, one of the things that I did to consult the wisdom of the crowd was not to take that answer completely as read. I just thought, well, let's add up all of those things, and if we do 19% multiplied by 10%, 29% multiplied by 20, and so on, that would give us a nice average of where we felt the chance of that first goal scoring would be. But the remarkable thing is, people looked at the odds of 4, and the average guess came out at 25%, which is basically the same chance of the team winning. So if you look at the wisdom of the crowd was basically saying that the chance of the team scoring first would be the same as their decimal odds. Now, the reason for highlighting this is especially when you're looking at matches that are mismatched, where you've got one heavily odds-on team or a Premiership team playing another team. And I've said this many, many times before, and you see me saying it on social media all of the time, the outsider scores more often than you would think. And if we look at this particular survey, the reason that I did the survey was to highlight this particular point and the fact that most people get it completely wrong. So hopefully, in the time that we've been doing this video, you've been thinking through what your answer would be, because I'm deliberately holding it back at this particular moment. And when we look at a team at odds of 4, then obviously their opponents will be heavily odds on, and there will be a chance of a draw. But necessarily you would expect them to be in a position where they're unexpected, or it's unlikely that they would win the match. And also with the other team being heavy odds on, you would think that they would probably score first, and that would be how they lose the match. But football doesn't work like that. Football can be a little bit random at times, and the way that goals are scored and the distribution of goals can be a little bit random as well. But thinking through the problem here as well, the first thing to solve with this particular issue is, I've said here, how often will they score first? Now, of course, it's quite likely that they may not score at all. Nobody scores first. It could be 0-0. Now, if you look at the very, very long-term stats, there's about an 8% chance of a match ending 0-0, which would be odds of 12.5. So the first thing to do is you have to discount that out of the equation, and that necessarily distorts the outcome a little bit as well. But also, if the team that we're talking about here is playing at home and there are odds of 4, you would probably want to insert a little bit of home bias in there as well. So you'd have to discount the fact that the match could end 0-0 and then put a little bit of a home bias into your calculation. So now I've given you all of that information as well. Have another think. Is the chance of the team scoring the first goal 10%, 20, 30 or 40% when they are odds of 4. What's your guess? Drum roll, please. Well, the answer is, if a team is priced at decimal odds of 4, in other words, they have a 25% chance of winning, then the chance of them scoring the first goal is 37%, or just over 37%. And that tends to surprise people a lot, because that's quite a gap. You're talking about a 12% better chance of winning the match and scoring the first, a 12% better chance of scoring the first goal than winning the match. So the chance of winning the match is 25%, but the chance of scoring first is 37%. But the interesting thing about this is when you actually plot this across a whole range of different starting prices, you tend to find that it's disproportionate. So if the team is priced heavy odds on, then their chance of scoring first is more or less their chance of winning the match. But as we go down that curve and we head off into the distance to higher odds, such as odds of 3 or 4 or bigger, then you tend to find that there's a big differential between the chance of them scoring first and going on to win the match. In other words, the likelihood of them scoring first doesn't accurately reflect what their starting price is. There's quite a big gap there. And that naturally draws me, being a bit of a contrarian, into matches like that, where in fact the trading opportunity is much, much higher in those matches necessarily than the outright betting opportunity, because the chance of the team that's odds against scoring first is actually much higher than you would typically think. If you look at where it's roughly evenly balanced between the home and the away team scoring first within a match, you're looking more or less at odds of about sort of 284, around that sort of level, just below odds of 3. So when we look at the market from that particular perspective, that's where it can be slightly distorting. As we've seen with the crowd, that seems to be relatively distorting as well. And when we look at the outcome of a match, you have to sort of separate the potential outcome of the match and the path that will follow to get to the outcome of the match from where the starting odds are, and also who scores that first goal and how the match is likely to unfold from there. As they say, football is a game of two halves, so maybe the team that's odds against scores in the first half, but tactics and all of the other things change at half time or at some point in the match, and that's one of the dynamics that changes the outcome of the match after that first goal. But there you go. The chance of the home team scoring, if they are at odds of 4, is 37%, which is much higher than you would expect from a team at that particular price within the market.